love Lego Harry Potter with all of my heart. This theme has literally been my childhood. It is the thing that got me to the hardcore Lego fan I am today. I honestly wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Lego Harry Potter. However, I still want to talk about some of the worst Lego Harry Potter sets to ever exist. Hey guys, it's Holly, and yeah, okay, this title's honestly a tiny bit of clickbait because as a whole, I feel like Harry Potter is one of the strongest themes that we currently have from Lego. I feel like it's almost up there with like Pirates of the Caribbean and like Lord of the Rings, but at this point it's gone on for that many years that yeah, there are some really weak links. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about the worst Lego Harry Potter sets that I personally believe exist out of the entire history of the 21 years of Lego Harry Potter. Now as a whole, I think this theme is amazing, and honestly we get some of the best builds and the most interesting sets from this theme, and I absolutely love it. I love what the designers do, but there have been a couple weak sets that I really feel like just don't shine as strongly as other things like the microscale Hogwarts castle or the Dumbstrung ship or like the Polyjuice Potion bathroom. Those things are iconic, they are amazing, and then we get some other things like this. So I wanted to go through what I believe to be the worst Lego Harry Potter sets of all time, so let's get into it. So in no particular order, the first set that I think is one of the worst Harry Potter sets is definitely the brand new Fluffy Encounter set 76387. This one's definitely one of the most recent ones, only releasing last year for the Lego Harry Potter 20th anniversary, and overall this set was just really disappointing, especially by 2021 standards. Overall, I definitely really like this modular system to Hogwarts. I mean, it's not perfect for how I personally like to display my sets, but I think it works really well and has a lot of mock potential. But the problem with this set is that the entire thing is just empty. One of the floors is a balcony, so you got nothing in it there. The Devil's Snare section, the Devil's Snare is made up of 3 pieces, which just feels incredibly lacking, and then the space for Fluffy has to be sort of lacking. The one thing that I do really like about this set though is the roof. I mean, that space with Fluffy, yeah, you've got the trap door and the compartment works and all of that, but there's just so many gaps at the top, it just doesn't feel quite right. And then when you display it so that you can fall through the trap door, the balcony's now on the floor, and then you've just got this random roof piece on the side, and it really just doesn't make sense to me. Not to mention the fact that I don't really like the fact that the harp is yellow, and just the Fluffy build overall. I recently did a video where I showed you guys how I fixed my Fluffy, because I just really don't like the fact that Fluffy's got 3 different heads. It's a play feature, so I get it, it's kind of fun. But it also technically doesn't work because if you turn Fluffy around, then he's standing on the trapdoor. And overall, I mean, this set was fine, but for the price, it just did not make sense. I feel like you've really got to wait for this one to go on sale. It's definitely one of the weakest ones I feel like that we've gotten in recent years, and definitely of all time, especially considering, you know, how far we've come with builds and with our sets in general. It's such a shame because I really wanted this to be good. On the other hand, our next set is from 2001, and that is the Chamber of the Winged Keys. Now, the same deal with this set, it's just completely empty. It's so disappointing. You look at the sort of main section where the keys are supposed to be flying around, and it's literally just an empty space. There's a spider web being used to decorate the back wall. Now, I understand back in 2001, a lot of sets had tons of gaps, so that was sort of just a feature of sets back then, so I don't really want to criticize it too hard for sort of not having a roof and having a lot of archways, but just the fact that the keys are just sort of attached to the top feels really odd, not to mention the fact that the chessboard is just 9 squares and just has like 1 queen minifigure. Like, you can't really play chess with that. I would have much rather them sort of shrunk it down and not really had like a queen figure if they were going to do the chessboard, or even just make it a different room entirely. Have that sort of be like an archway or a hallway or something like that. Just the chessboard combined with the empty corridor, it really doesn't work for me, and it just feels like a giant waste of space, and especially considering how much this set goes for these days, yeah, definitely not worth it. Definitely one of the worst Harry Potter sets that we've gotten. Just like Fluffy, another set that was a major disappointment to me was the Hungarian Horntail Tri-Wizard Challenge, which is set 75946, and I really wanted to like this set. I was incredibly excited for it when it came out. It was one of the first Goblet of Fire sets that I bought, but overall it just sort of felt very weak, especially when you compare it to the original version of the Hungarian Horntail. The new dragon, I really like the wings for, but just the overall brick build didn't feel right to me. His torso felt incredibly skinny, and same with the head and neck basically, especially considering the size of his thunder thighs. I mean, no body shaming to this dragon, but it doesn't work in terms of proportions. I feel like the wings were really the only good thing. The head mold was just too small. The horns at the back as well consistently fall off, and I just feel like they were too small and just not quite accurate enough, or even aggressive enough. That original Horntail set the bar so high, and I feel like we sort of came crashing back down. I do like the little sideboard though for where the golden egg is. I thought that was done really well, but the champion's tent again was just severely disappointing. I mean, I don't necessarily feel like we needed a stadium like the original, but just that tent had nothing in it. It was very bland from the outside because you know it's a tent, and then you've just got these stickered pieces on the panels at the sides. It just really didn't work. The saving grace for the set honestly was the minifigures. The fact that you got all 4 champions in all of their outfits was amazing and just unheard of, and that is my favorite part about the set by far. I'm really glad that we were able to get that. But besides that, this set was just a really big letdown for me, and that is why I think it's one of the worst Harry Potter sets. Next up, we have the 3rd edition Hagrid's Hut, which is set 4738. Now, if 10-year-old me heard me now talking slander about this set, I would probably be extremely upset. But these days, I look back at this Hagrid's Hut and I realize what a disappointment it was. Firstly, the shape is very similar to the one from 2004, which honestly, at the time, I quite liked the shape. However, these days, we've got a much more accurate version that actually has the 2 huts. I mean, I'll give it to this set. It was enclosed, which was fantastic, and did have a light brick. You've also still got a really tiny kind of pathetic pumpkin patch and some mushrooms. But what I really don't like about this set is Aragog. I mean, it really brings him down. If we're gonna have a side build of Aragog like that, can we at least make it look like Aragog? Like, I don't get why his legs are katanas. I didn't get it back then. I still don't get it now. I also just feel like the printed pieces sort of don't work. It doesn't really give off the shape of a spider, which I think is incredibly important. And then just the hut these days in general, it doesn't really feel like anything special. It feels like we literally just sort of replicated and updated the 2004 one very, very slightly, which for 2010 standards, I feel like could have been kicked up a notch. We could have done a tiny bit better. The one good thing about this set though at the time is that you got the trio and Hagrid all in one pretty reasonably priced set. It was really easy to get all of them, which was really good, and I'm pretty sure as well that this was the only set with Ron in his Gryffindor uniform in 2010, or even just out of that entire sort of 2010 and 11 wave. So again, the minifigures are really the highlight of this set. I mean, you got Norbert too, but just overall, looking at it now, it's kind of disappointing, and it's broken up in plastic bags for me. Sticking to that era, I have to say that 2011 Forbidden Forest set 4865 is just, it's not good, which is such a shame considering it's literally one of 2 Deathly Hallows sets that we've ever gotten. And you know, it's the scene from Harry's death scene, so it's definitely the more darker one, but I just look at this and I just feel disappointed. I mean, the build for the tree is okay, but I wouldn't really call a singular tree a forest. I mean, it just doesn't really work for me. Not to mention the fact that Harry's torso is inaccurate since he's not even in his school uniform. I mean, this dude hasn't gone to school for an entire year. Why is he wearing his school uniform? Narcissa Malfoy though, again, saving grace. She's the only reason that I wanted this set at first, and these days she's the second reason why I wanted this set. The other one is just so I could have a complete wave from that year. I mean, getting Hagrid in a really cheap set was great, same with Voldemort, but just the build was very simple, very pathetic. There's this really weird, just sort of like black bar Technic piece that sort of just gets in the way, which is really frustrating and looks incredibly out of place. Just overall, it's a disappointment. I understand that it was a cheap set, but I feel like we could do a bit better than that, especially if we're going to give it the name The Forbidden Forest. It's more of the Forbidden Tree. I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this next one, and honestly, I don't know if it necessarily deserves this title of one of the worst LEGO Harry Potter sets, but it's the 2021 Chamber of Secrets set 76389. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like this set. I think it's a fantastic Hogwarts castle. You get so many modules for it. It's amazing. It works really well with the rest of the 2021 wave, and I think you get a pretty decent figure selection. However, just like the Forbidden Forest, I don't think it quite lives up to the name Chamber of Secrets, considering the chamber is just like 2 tiny bits at the bottom, and then the rest of it is just random pieces from the Great Hall. I feel like it would make more sense if it was just sort of like Hogwarts or Hogwarts Castle, sort of like they did with the original Hogwarts Castle lines, rather than the Chamber of Secrets. I would have much preferred the Chamber of Secrets set actually being a fleshed out Chamber of Secrets. The bottom of it is far too gappy, and considering that that is the name and sort of the whole concept behind the set, it just left me really disappointed. The set as a whole, I think, is really good. I mean, besides all of the gaps at the bottom, I really enjoyed the set. I thought the design was really interesting. The outside, unlike a lot of the other modular sections as well, was pretty detailed and I really liked it, but just Chamber of Secrets, it's disappointing. The basilisk head looks amazing. The basilisk body is a tiny bit too skinny for my liking, but it works. Overall, I just expected more from this set, especially with the name Chamber of Secrets. Really, that is the only gripe I have with this set, which again is why I said I don't think it quite belongs on this list, but I wanted to include it anyway just because I feel like, just going off the name, it makes it one of the worst. Another one that 10-year-old me would be disgusted to find out is on this list is the Hogwarts Express from 2010. And overall, again, I think this set is really well built. It was really amazing, and I personally thought it was ahead of its time back in 2010. I had a lot of fun with this set and rebuilding it and just playing around with it. I thought the Flying Fort Anglia was great. I thought the train build was great, but my problem then lies in just how many movies they sort of just shoved together in order to make this set. Just looking at it for what it is, you could very clearly say that, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a Chamber of Secrets set, and honestly, that's what I thought too, but then they just had to go and throw Luna Lovegood in there because that movie had just come out at the time, and it felt very disjointed. I mean, I get why they're doing it. LEGO is putting a popular character in a really cool outfit in the set so that people would want to buy it, and they could have that character, but it just made the set incredibly disjointed. It was really, really strange. Besides that, all of the characters were great. It was great to get Ginny in her school uniform, same with Draco, which I personally loved, but then you had Luna Lovegood here just sort of thrown in. I do love that figure though, but she really didn't need to be in that set. And then you had Ron and Harry in their casual outfits, and overall, the set build was great, but it's just a really big mess and sort of like just really confusing, I found. And I don't understand why LEGO had to go and do that, and because of it, I put it on the worst Harry Potter sets list, despite the build being really, really good. And honestly, sometimes I prefer it to the new one. One that didn't have a very good build though is Harry and the Marauders Map from 2004. I don't like the look of this set, and 2004 I feel like was the best wave overall out of like those original Harry Potter sets, and it's one that I would definitely love to collect every set from, except this one. This one is the weakest link of the group. It doesn't make sense to me why it's like Harry and the Marauders Map. Firstly, Snape never went and caught Harry with the Marauders Map until like later on, and like this one is supposed to be when he's like heading to Honeydukes, which is why you've got the one-eyed witch passage, but then like Snape was never there at that part. Also, Harry's in the wrong outfit because he's supposed to be going to Honeydukes, and he really needs a lot more layers. He's gonna freeze in the cold there. It just overall doesn't make much sense. The build, pretty boring, honestly. I don't think it even matches really nicely with that castle from that year. It was just overall really disappointing. Also, you didn't really get any interesting figures either. So like, where was the appeal in this set? I don't know. I don't really see it. Definitely the weakest link, but if I end up going back and getting all of the 2004 sets, I guess I'll have to suck it up and buy it. Speaking of bad original sets, next up is the original Quidditch practice from 2001. I don't like the way that this set looks. Firstly, the Quidditch hoops just look slightly appalling. Then there's like the Quidditch tower, which is a mix of 2 different houses, which doesn't make sense, but I get it. They're just trying to sort of minimize the amount of pieces that were being used. But my biggest gripe with this set is that you don't really have a team. You just have 2 players fighting against each other, which really doesn't make sense. Like, a 1v1 battle is definitely not like a Quidditch match or a Quidditch practice. It really just doesn't make sense. Madam Hooch is also a tiny bit terrifying with that hair, but I don't understand it. We definitely did improve slightly as time progressed, leading us to like the 2018 Quidditch match, which I just love. The fact that we got all 4 houses was insane. We also got 2 people, which meant you could have a team, which this set definitely didn't have, and I really think it's a product of its time, personally. Moving along, and next up we've got Aragog in the Dark Forest, and my goodness is this Aragog ugly. I don't think it's quite as bad though as the 2010 Aragog from Hagrid's Hut, but this one is certainly atrocious as well. I don't think he looks that great at all. His beady eyes are really creepy, but more importantly, what is this forest? I mean, at least this time around, unlike the Forbidden Forest, this actually is a forest. We've got a tiny bit more groundwork here, but it really just screams classic Lego to me, with like a really weird shaped base plate and just like a bunch of random pieces. It's also incredibly gappy. The builds are very, very, very basic. Overall, it just sort of looks like a bunch of different like Lego elements and building techniques from like the late 90s and early 2000s sort of just like threw up, and that's what this set is. At least Aragog was like relatively to scale though, so I will give this set that, unlike the 2010 one, which was far worse. I don't know how we went downhill from there, considering like the bar was like not that high to begin with, but we did. Anyway, this set is just, it's sad, and it reminds me why I'm not too fussed on collecting every Harry Potter set ever. It's because there's so many dodgy ones from like 2001 and 2002. I still want to do it, but it's the sets like these that put me off it. One set for me that definitely didn't age well is Freeing Dobby. I remember when this set came out and I was super excited because I loved the Dobby figure, as creepy as he was, and the fact that he was in a cheap set was a really cool thing. It was the first Harry Potter set that I had gotten since my original Harry Potter 2007 castle. I remember my grandparents bought one for my sister and I at our local Target, and it was the most exciting day ever. So this set means a lot to me. Overall, I think the figure selection is really good, and it's definitely an upgrade from the original Freeing Dobby set, or was it like Dobby's release? I can't remember the specific name of it. It was a step up. However, the archway just feels like incredibly weak. I mean, it had some good play features. It definitely suited the color scheme and the style of the rest of the Hogwarts builds, but considering that whole system was modular, this, just like that Chamber of Secrets gate from the recent Chamber of Secrets, it just sort of sits there on the side. It doesn't feel quite right, and then because it's an archway as well, it does feel incredibly empty, which is such a shame, but I do think it was a really good deal for the price point. But the build these days is just incredibly underwhelming. I would have preferred them to redo the sort of vignette style from the classic one, because I feel like that would have paid off a lot better, and I mean, I feel like this set wouldn't be on the list if it did that route instead. And lastly, what I think is the worst Lego Harry Potter set of all time, yet I still kind of want it because of how bad it is, and that is the original Hagrid's Hut. What is with this plastic roof? It's atrocious. I don't know what Lego was trying to do here. I don't know why we had to tie it up. Like, that just felt really weird, especially if you're missing the string, then the roof just sort of sticks upright and looks like incredibly awkward. I mean, you got Hagrid, but he's got his creepy brown fingered hands, which is really odd, and you also got Dumbledore and Norbert, but the rest of the hut just felt like incredibly bare. I mean, you kind of just twist it all together, and it's like you sort of just like scooping Lego pieces into a bucket, and like because it's in a container, suddenly it's clean. Like, I feel like that's what this is, but just like in the embodiment of an actual Lego set. Like, you just close the entire hut and suddenly all the mess from the hut is gone. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, I'm really interested to buy this set because I just want to see if it's as bad in person as I feel like it is looking at these images. It's a hot mess. It's certainly very unique though. I'll give it that, but it doesn't look that great, and I don't know, I've never really liked this set. It's always confused me. I definitely think it's the worst Harry Potter set of all time. I don't like it. I don't understand it. I'm really confused by it. The sad part about this is that I own half of these sets and want to buy the remaining of them because I'm just that far into this theme at this point that I want everything no matter what. And look, it's Lego. There's perks and there's downsides to every single set. This is a very subjective list, so let me know your very subjective opinions in the comment section down below. Do you agree? Do you think that there are some that I left off the list? Let me know. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.